Welcome to Good Burger Reviews. My name is John and I'm here to do a brand new 2025 movie review. And the movie is Freakier Friday.
You've walked in each other's path. You learned a lesson that may serve you again.
Okay, that's enough.
Thank you very much.
Change the hearts you know are wrong to reach the place where you belong.
This movie was released into movies in August of 2025 by Disney, directed by Nisha Ganatar, starring Jamie Lee Curtis, Lindsay Lohan, Julie Butters, and Mark Harmon. 2 decades after an identity crisis, Anna's blended family faces new challenges. Tess and Anna discover their past may be repeating with the next generation. So am I cheating on my own channel by reviewing a Disney movie that is a comedy? Because Good Burger Reviews primarily has been a horror movie with a little bit of thriller and science fiction, of course, blended in. Anything that's horror or horror adjacent, we're still clearly in shark time. Shark movies are on the plate for my channel. And someone who requested me to review this movie a while back, one of my subscribers, Lorianne, so here you go, Freakier Friday. And I decided that, maybe it's not cheating on my channel so much. One, because it is a supernatural comedy. Freakier Friday does deal with the supernatural element. And, I have done some comedy reviews as far as horror comedy reviews. I think of The Parenting. And of course, because the OG Jamie Lee Curtis is in this, the Halloween major star who's been in multiple Halloweens, the eye of the Halloween franchise, so why not? Let's get into Freakier Friday. Now, when I saw the preview for this was coming out several months back, I kind of chuckled and I thought, oh, it might be interesting. My initial thought was I probably wouldn't review it, but here we go. Now, I think of how many body swap movies have there been over the years, and believe it or not, it started with Freaky Friday. And for many of you who may not know, and I think some of you probably do, especially if you're in my age group or older, Freaky Friday is really a legacy sequel to a reboot. The Freaky Friday that was released in 2003 with Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan is actually a reboot of the original Freaky Friday, which was released in January of 1977, starring Jodie Foster as Annabelle, the little girl who switches place with her mom. And growing up, I used to watch Freaky Friday, the original one, all the time. It was one of my childhood favorite movies to watch, probably on repeat a lot, or partnered up with movies like Mary Poppins, Pete's Dragons, Bedknobs and Broomsticks, all my classic childhood movies that I grew up on, Old Yeller. So in my mid-20s, when Freaky Friday was being redone with Lindsay Lohan and Halloween star Jamie Lee Curtis, I was right on board. And before I get into Freakier Friday, let me just say, the Freaky Friday that hit in 2003 was great. I mean, I loved it, and I was a young man at the time. I thought it had a great soundtrack. Lindsay Lohan was engaging. Jamie Lee Curtis was hilarious. I mean, they really, I think they took what was done in the original Freaky Friday and upped it and made it very current for that time frame. Because the Jodie Foster one is totally 1970s. But the Jamie Lee Curtis, Lindsay Lohan one is totally 2000s. So how does this legacy sequel follow up a movie like Freaky Friday? And I was wondering, were we going to have kind of what we've been having with these nostalgia bait movies that just are loaded with nostalgia and just echoes of the same movie that we saw 20 plus years ago? And I'd said, I enjoyed I Know What You Did Last Summer, but it really was an echo of the original I Know What You Did Last Summer. I enjoyed the screams, but they themselves are kind of just repeats as well. The same with the, Halloween trilogy that was out in 2018. And then I also thought there has been a ton of body swapping movies, and when I looked into it, there's been a lot more than I can remember, i.e., Vice Versa, Big, 13 Going on 30. More recently, movies like The Change Up. And then there was a horror version of Freaky Friday called Freaky, which I loved and thought was hysterical. A girl who switches places with a serial killer. And that I saw recently in light of watching a lot of horror movies for my channel, and I really loved that one. So the question is, did Freakier Friday cut the mustard as a legacy sequel? Well, they definitely decide to double down by this really being the first true sequel to Freaky Friday by having two people switching places with another two people. So in the original Freaky Friday, Anna switches places with her mom, Tess, and it's just the two of them, and they spend a day in each other's shoes, and they learn life lessons, and it's, you know, a great Disney family morals movie. Now, this one, you add the grandchildren. So I noticed that Jamie Lee Curtis is just rocking being a grandmother. I mean, she played the grandmother role in Halloween, the Halloween trilogy, Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. And, you know, this movie obviously is a whole different tone, a whole different character, but Jamie Lee Curtis does manage to play some of the parts very similarly. Jamie Lee Curtis, for one, props to her. I mean, when I remember in the original one when, like, Lindsay Lohan jumps in her body and she's like, I look like the Crypt Keeper. And I think, dang, the poor woman looks like that. Why are you roasting her? And then, like, literally, the young girl in this one becomes her. And when she wakes up as Jamie Lee Curtis, she's like, oh my gosh, I'm almost dead. You know, I look almost dead. And there's lots of jokes, like body jokes, at the older characters' expense because the younger characters treat these older characters like they're almost 100. Even Lindsay Lohan, like the girl who wakes up in Lindsay Lohan's like, oh, I feel tired. Oh, I feel dry. Oh, I'm exhausted. I'm thinking, they specifically said she was 36 and a half. I'm thinking, 36 and a half, I wasn't that exhausted. But I guess to a 16-year-old or a 15-year-old, 36 can be exhausting. And I will say that Jamie Lee Curtis is really can get a lot done physically in a role. I remember her role at the end of Halloween's End, and all of her Halloween movies, even though some of them are getting close to almost 10 years old, they're like, she really can move. And in this movie, she does a lot. Even though they kind of make a lot of old jokes and a lot of body jokes, she gets down with it. She surfs, she dances, she plays like racquetball or some sort of like exotic tennis type of sport. I don't know what it was. Now, Lindsay Lohan, she was the one that started off in The Parent Trap. So it was funny how she did a reboot of the Disney Parent Trap and then did a reboot of Disney Freaky Friday. And of course, she's also well known for being in Mean Girls. But then after that, Lindsay Lohan's public life went in the toilet, and she really hasn't been that much in the cinema until as of recent.
I was really bad at that. So bad at that. Any other ideas? Let's just get back out there.
For 36, probably closer to 40, she looked really young. I mean, she looks almost 30 in the movie. She's kind of young. You know, Jamie Lee Curtis's character looks her age. Lindsay Lohan still looks very young for her age, and she just kind of has like this young vibe. Not that she's immature, because she seems to have a maturity. I mean, she is the mother in this movie, and she does try to be a mother in this one, but like Jamie Lee Curtis is too much of the mother to really see a mother in Lindsay. Both women have their ways and their characteristics, and they stay true to their form, and I'd say overall fairly true to their character. I felt like Lindsay Lohan does a really good job at like becoming this like aging millennial who's like on the verge of 40 now.
How about this?
I, Anna, take you, Eric, a man whose daughter is a little demon thing with an obnoxious accent.
What is taking so long? We wouldn't want to be off schedule, innit?
To explain who the two young girls are in this movie, you have Lindsay Lohan's daughter, who ends up having like this natural enemy at school who's this like foreign exchange student from Britain, or British. Even though she's like Oriental, they're from Britain. And the movie starts off and it's like they're not getting along in class. They're like lab partners and they don't get along. And then like their parents get called into school as like because of something that happened to them in their science class. And it's like both of them are single parents and they hit it off right away. Flash forward to 6 months later, they're getting married. These two who weren't getting along are now looking at being stepsisters, and they don't want this marriage to happen. And basically the swap happens the weekend right before the wedding.
As teenagers, we have no power. But as adults,
We can break our parents up for good.
Sometimes like it definitely goes like over the top. So I feel like when the girls all first switch, it goes a little over the top in their reactions. And I guess, you know, when you wake up in a different body, you might act over the top. But I feel like because of the way they reacted in the initial movie, now they're kind of doubled down on it. And the young kids and the older ones, they are just kind of really extra in their reactions.
oh my God, what is happening?
Okay, it's
Who
all
am
right.
I? It's me. It's Mom. If you're me and I'm you, then who's that? I'm Grandma, sweetheart.
And there definitely was some nostalgia going on because they ended up bringing back like the Chinese ladies that were responsible in the first Freaky Friday or the reboot Freaky Friday, the 2003 Freaky Friday. They were at like their restaurant or like there's something. They were all together and like somehow like this crystal ball reader gets involved too and is really behind the swap. She kind of like curses them. Like she's doing a reading and so there's predictability. Like they get their palms read. Lindsay and Jamie get their palms read. And it's like, I know she's going to say, oh, their lives have crossed, their paths have crossed. She's going to see it in their palms. And of course, that's exactly what she says. And then the young girls get like the warning, the curse warning. And then the next morning they wake up and everything's swapped around. And there's also more predictability since this movie has been done and redone, and so many body swap movies have been done, and they kind of all follow similar plot lines. There's not much in the surprise of what's going to happen. I mean, this story pretty much could have wrote itself. You basically just have to add the legacy part to it. You know, the 30 years later, the generation later, so you got the grandkids, you got the grandmother, you got the mid-generation, and you got all these levels of people interacting. You got the nostalgia, you got the trying to make it modern, but yet kind of also making it a throwback as well. So this movie, I mean, it is entertaining, it's funny, but predictable. And Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay, like, they definitely steal the show. I mean, it is their show to steal, but they're the most engaging characters. The two younger ones, they did decent. I'm not complaining about them, but Jamie and Lindsay, they just stand out. Also decided to bring back, I guess, the boyfriend to Lindsay Lohan in the original one. It definitely was Jake that was brought back. And, like, he gets kind of dragged into this, and for some reason, he kind of has a crush on Jamie Lee Curtis's character, and I think that's kind of how the original one left off as well, because when in the first movie he spent the whole day with really Jamie Lee Curtis and not Lindsay. I do want to mention the girl who plays like the crystal ball reader, like the madam. She was totally giving me Molly Ringwald vibes. I thought for a second there she was Molly Ringwald, but I kind of knew that it wasn't, and it's an unknown. Her name's Vanessa Bayer. But she was kind of comical and funny. The nostalgia, it was kind of like, again, I'll compare this to I Know What You Did Last Summer, where Jennifer Love Hewitt kind of says the "what are you waiting for" line, and it was way better. It was done way better in the first movie. And then, you know, this one, their famous line was "make good choices." You know, the mom said "make good choices," and now Lindsay Lohan's saying it, but it definitely felt forced. And they say it a bunch of times.
Make good choices.
Make Make good choices.
You are so lame.
So at the end of the day, this was a really fun watch. I mean, I found myself laughing, chuckling, even tearing up in the softer moments. You know, I mean, overall, I'm gonna get down to business on this one. I'm gonna give Freakier Friday a good burger because it's entertaining. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan put enough into their roles to keep me entertained for an hour and a half. And just like any good burger, you know, you kind of know what you're signing up for when you go to see a certain movie, and you know what you're going to get, and that's kind of what good burgers are. You order a decent burger, you expect the bread, the lettuce, the tomato, the onion, and the ketchup, and that's what you're getting. The same thing when you go out to see Disney Freaky Friday movie, you kind of get the same stuff in the same order and the same laughs, and you enjoy it anyway. And that's kind of how Freakier Friday is. I think over time, it could get lost in the mix of reboots, legacy sequels. You know, it's nothing that's going to stand out in like, you know, 10 years down the road, you'll probably want to put in the 2003 version. Or I might want to put in the 1977 version. It depends. It depends what type of mood I'm in, which one of those I'm going to flip in. But this one could be maybe a double feature with, you know, the 2003 Freakier Friday. But it's not going to be anything extraordinary. And I mean, I guess they could make the Freakiest Friday, but if they wait another 30 years to do it, I'd be fine with that. And even though this movie is mostly funny and comical, this is Johnny with Good Burger Reviews on his horror channel mostly, saying, stay scared when you wake up the next morning in your parents' body. Please like, subscribe, tap the notification bell, and all that jazz. Much appreciated to all my subscribers.